What's up, YouTube world? It's your boy Jerome, and I'm coming to you tonight with a review for Greenleaf Season 3, Episode 13, also known as the season finale, which is titled The New Life. So, this was a really good episode. I really enjoyed this season finale. I've enjoyed this season. I'm so glad that I found Greenleaf thanks to Roxanne Forrest Rocks, Ashley Miller, and Brittany Bondi Blue. Because I always got notifications on Wednesdays and Thursdays when they post their videos on YouTube. And I'm like, you know what, man? I keep seeing them post this stuff every week, and I keep seeing people talk about it so much. So I decided to give it a shot, watched it, started reviewing it, and I love the show. So since it's a season finale, I will be back for season 4. So now we are going to get started with the video. Okay, so this episode, it picks up where it ended out last week was with Bishop in his office with Basie holding the gun to Bishop. So, with Bishop's talking to Basie, in walks Kareem. And when Kareem walked into the office, Basie turned the gun and pointed it right at Kareem. I'm like, oh shit, like, don't shoot her. Like, what the hell? Like, please don't kill the girl. Don't shoot her. It's pointing blank in the face. And Bishop is just telling Kareem to get out. Go call the police. Like, get the hell out of here. Don't stand in this man's way. Leave. So then, Kareem, she leaves out, and we see Lady May. She and Maxine are walking out from the day with Lady May. And, Maxine is just, giving May her props, her kudos, and just telling her how she did a good job. So then Kareem runs up there and tells May and Maxine that, Basie has a gun to Bishop. So then we shoot back over to Bishop's office. So Basie does not shoot Bishop. I'm like, thank God he didn't shoot him. But Bishop was visibly shooken, like nigga was having heart palpitations, like it's a big one. Like literally, I thought Bishop was gonna pass out right there and croak over from fear of, what Basie was gonna do to him. But, May runs into the office, and, she's telling Kareem to, call the police. She's talking about call the police. And Bishop was like, don't call the police. There's no need for that. And I'm like, motherfucker, it is a need for that. Like, what if he decides to bring his ass back and actually next time try to shoot you, this time for real? But, they say call the police, and then they talk about calling a doctor to come check Basie out. So then Charity runs in there, and we see Jacob. He's on the phone with Charity, and Charity's telling him about what happened. And, Jacob was like, nah, call the police and also call the doctor. For real, like, shit, this motherfucker came into the church with a gun. Like, who knows what Basie is capable of at this point. And basically, Carissa's telling Jacob the same thing. Like, hell, ain't no telling what he can do. So we see with Jacob and Carissa, they're talking. So, Jacob is like, now that Zora's back, can we at least call out this divorce? And Carissa's like, I don't know about doing that. That's not something that, that's not where I'm at right now. And, while he's talking to Carissa, they get a phone call from Joseph, the accountant over at Triumph. And basically, Carissa and Jacob are out at Triumph. And I'm guessing this is because of the accountant. Don't really know the logistics of what happened right now, but the much that I do know is that Jacob and Carissa are out over there trying. All right, so then we see Bishop and May. He's in his office, and there's a doctor in there. So basically, the doctor says Bishop checks out. It's all good. He just basically tells him that he needs to rest. And May says, I definitely agree with you, the doctor, that he needs to rest. So the doctor then leaves, and Bishop is apologizing to May about not making it to her event. And, at this point, May doesn't really care too much about him not making it to the event. It's more so the fact of Basie pulling the fucking gun on him and almost killing him, air quotes. She didn't ask Bishop, is he going to go over to Percy's to rest? And, Bishop then tells May that the church is hers. And May is over the moon, ecstatic that he told her that it's like, a weight is lifted off her shoulder. She's like, finally, this old coot has came to his senses and decided to give me the church. So then we see May. She's thanking Maxine as Maxine is getting ready to leave. And, Maxine is just telling her what she needs to do now. I think there's some kind of convention or something that she was going to, and she just telling her to go there and, and knock it out the ballpark, basically. So, now Lady May thinks that you know, Calvary is going to be hers. You know, she thinks it's going to be hers. But we all know Connie is up to no good. So we're going to see what happens with Connie, May, and this church. So speaking of old Connie, so we see Grace. She's having lunch with Connie. And, you know, Connie is telling Grace again that she wants Grace to join, you know, the church. So actually, Grace is there with Connie and Phil from Harmony and Hope. And like I said, we once again have Connie telling Grace that she wants her to join the church. This is like, what is this? The second or third time that Connie has come to Grace trying to get her to, you know, get her parents out, and then, you know, she takes over. Like, Connie is an old bitch. Basically, that's what I want to call her. She's an old bitch. A conniving bitch at that. So, you know, Grace is asking, you know, Connie and Phil, why did they not talk to her mom? Because, you know, my mama just brought the house down. Like, why y'all not talking to her? And, you know, Phil gives his reason for not talking to Lady May. I think it was something about her being selfish. I can't remember exactly the wording that he used. And, you know, then Grace asks, well, why me? And, you know, basically it's because Connie has been speaking so highly to Phil about Grace. And what it is, you know, Phil wants Grace to run the church for 1 year, and, you know, just to get it starting. And, you know, he says that things will go, this will go on with or without Grace. So then Grace says, you know, well, can you give me at least a week to pray on this? And he says, sure, why not? So then we see this scene where May and Grace are walking and talking. And, you know, Lady May is talking about what she's going to say to the deacons and to Connie. And then Grace tells her, well, you know, I met with Connie and Phil. And, you know, basically they want to join Calvary and Harmony and Hope together. And they want me to, you know, come on board and preach. And Lady May is like, but you told them no, didn't you? She says, I didn't tell them no. I told them to let me pray on it. She said, well, the best thing would have been for you just to tell them that you are not going to do it. And I'm like, here we go, May. This is all about Lady May and what she wants. Because then she starts to go off on Grace. And I'm like, what? Like, you know, basically Lady May is trying to make, like she always does, everything that goes wrong is always Grace's fault. And I'm like, why does she always do this? Like, you always place blame on Grace. And then I'm so glad that Grace threw it in her face about Lionel, and May had absolutely nothing to say at that point. So then, you know, Grace did tell her that she and Aaron did a blood test, and that it came back that she is Lionel's daughter. And May's like, so are you going to tell Bishop? And, you know, Grace is like, yes, I have to tell him. Like, I don't want to keep this secret from him. And, you know, May, again, going into how this is all about her. And I'm like, Lady May, like, you make everything Grace's fault. But Grace is your child, not the mother. Like, you are the one that slept with Lionel and got pregnant by Lionel. Like, I don't get how Lady May can sit there and just place blame on Grace over and over and over again. Like, that makes zero sense to me. Like, so then Lady May says, you know what, instead of you telling Bishop, let me tell him. And I'm like, go for it. Like, please do. But then, you know, as May's getting ready to leave, she does apologize to Grace. And I'm like, but you just went off on this girl, and now you coming at her to apologize. Okay, Lady May, if you say so. So then we see Jacob. He is over at Calvary, and he's in Bishop's office, and he's basically just checking on Bishop to see how he is. And Bishop says that he's all good. And, you know, Jacob then says he's over there basically to see if, you know, Lady May needs help going forward. And, you know, he's telling Bishop how he and Carissa have been kicked out of Calvary, not Calvary, but Triumph, because Joseph, the accountant, has told everybody in the church that they are not responsible. And, you know, Bishop was like, but they do know that you, with this scandal, that you guys weren't at fault for it. And he says, yes, but basically it's the accountability thing, that the people at Triumph do not feel they're accountable for anything. So I definitely agree with that, because I do agree with that, because if Jacob was responsible and accountable, he would have never, you know, fell into the trap that Cheap, Dirty Blonde, Skank, and Richard Rochelle set for him. if he was, but again, he wasn't in his right mind frame because of the whole situation with Zora. So Cheap Dirty Blonde Skank took advantage of that, and that's how he got into this position that he was in. So it's a catch-22 basically, to be honest with you. So Bishop is telling Grace, I mean not Grace, but Jacob, how he thinks he'll be a good addition to helping Lady May. And Jacob's like, but you never saw me pray. I mean, you never saw me preach. And he says, yes, I have. He said, when I'm up at 3 a.m. in the morning, I'm watching you on TV. And, he's surprised to hear that. So then they say, let's go over here because Lady May is meeting with the deacon board and Connie. So then we see May, she's meeting with Connie and the deacon board, and she's saying that, she's perfect to take over Calvary. And I also have, Bishop's approval. Well, that don't mean shit to Connie at all. Because Connie, pulls out, somebody pulls out a petition, and May is like, what the hell is this? And they're like, this is a petition with over 2,000 signatures of the parishioners who want for Lady May and Bishop to retire and to join Harmony and Hope. And I'm like, well, you look like you done lost that battle, Lady May. Yep. So, once Lady May leaves, Bishop tells Connie that, I'm on my way out. I'm okay with retiring, but she did not deserve that. And I'm like, you are so right. Like, she didn't, like, Lady May, as much as she works my nerves sometimes, she really didn't deserve what Connie did to her. Like, she had but despite how good Lady May did with her day with Lady May, you had Connie out there in the audience looking like a fucking sourpuss with that stank ass look on her face. So, no matter what Lady May did, Connie was going to feel the way Connie felt. So that's it with that. And, Bishop says that, when it comes to Harmony and Hope, or whatever the hell the name of that church is, that they're grifters and they usually take money from the churches that they, work with. And he doesn't see why Calvary would be any different. And he does also leave the deacons with one bit of advice that, once this deal is done, Connie does stand to get some money from it. And I'm like, you go, Bishop, stick it to Connie, old sourpuss looking ass biatch. All right, so then we had this scene where May is walking over, not Maxine, May. She's walking to Bishop's office, and in his office there is he and Corrine. And Corrine is telling him that the IRS lady keeps calling. And, May walks in and Corrine walks out. So May is asking him, are you getting ready to go for the Percy's? And he says, yes. He said, where are you heading? And she says, home. And then she says, would you like to come over to the house and have dinner with me? I'm going to cook. I'm like, oh, what is May up to? I guess she's trying to get a spin on this whole Grace being Lionel's daughter. So I'm going to feed your fat ass. And then I'm going to lower the boom on you and tell you, hey, motherfucker. So, all these years I've been telling you that Grace was your daughter. Well, it just came to me that, we just found out that, yeah, Grace is Lionel's child. And yeah, she's not your child. But, I just fed your fat ass and you're drunk. So, yeah, do whatever you want with that. Excuse me. So then we had this scene where Carissa and Jacob are together, and Carissa's asking Jacob who will run Calvary now that, Connie wants May and Bishop to retire. He says, well, Gigi's supposed to take over. And she's like, well, who's going to be Jesus' assistant pastor? He's like, I don't know. She says, well, it should be you. And he's like, but I haven't even sat down and had a conversation with Gigi yet about that. And she says, well, I need child support. And he was like, child support? She's like, yes. She says, if we divorce or not, I am still the mother of your kids. And I'm like, Carissa, if you don't shut the fuck up, like, I feel bad for you sometimes, but then sometimes it's just like Charity. You feel bad for them, but then in the next breath, it's like, please shut the hell up. So then, she's like, well, how long do you think it's going to be before Grace says something or does something that gets her in trouble? And I'm like, Carissa, like, chill. The girl hasn't even done her first sermon yet. So why are you going to the negative part yet? So far, like, Grace hasn't even had her first, actual day of preaching the church as it's being hers. So I just don't know why she went that far, that deep, that fast. Like Carissa, aka Zora's mama, shout out to his rocks for that one. I crack up laughing every time she calls her Zora's mama. All right, so then we get this super duper dramatic ass scene where we have Lady Mae and Bishop, who are supposed to be having dinner, but there's no food on the table, but they are drinking wine. So, then Lady Mae tells him, James, I have something to tell you. And I don't really want to tell you this, but I have to tell you this before Grace tells you. And he's like, well, what is it, Mae? And she's like, Grace is not your daughter. She's actually Lionel's daughter. And Bishop took this fairly well. I was surprised. He didn't get upset with Mae. And he says, now we're even. She says, is that it? He says, yeah, that's it. He was like, you've already kicked me out the house. And it's like you can lose me. So we're good. And I'm like, I saw his point. It was a good point. Hell, y'all divorced. You kicked him out the house. So what more can you do to the man? Like, he still loves Grace. I'm pretty positive that no matter what DNA says, he is still going to be Grace's father. So, and at this point, I don't know why she made it such a big deal. And, then she asked him, will you move back into the house? I'm like, what? Will he move back into the house? And he says, yes, I'll move back into the house, but you have to do something for me first. And she was like, what? So he basically wants her to make up with Grace, because ever since Grace was born, I mean, you can look at the dynamic between Lady Mae and Grace and see that Lady Mae has a huge issue with Grace. And the issue with Grace is that she's Lionel's daughter, but that's not Grace's fault that she's Lionel's daughter. That's your fault that you willingly spread your legs to Grace. I mean, not Grace, but your legs to Bishop and to Lionel, and you got actually and unprotected at that, and you did not know who the father of your child was. So that's not Grace's fault. And I like the fact that Bishop didn't blame her, didn't call her any kind of name or anything like that. So I did respect the fact that Bishop did that. All right, so then we had this scene where basically he's at the liquor store and he's getting some alcohol, and he's calling Cheap Dirty Blonde Skank, and he's telling her that he and Rochelle are getting ready to leave, and he's telling her where she can meet them at. And she's like, Basie, no, I can't meet you there. I have a deal with the who was it? Who the hell she got a deal with? Is it the FBI, the IRS, whoever the hell, the feds? I got a deal with them and I can't mess up my deal, and stop calling me. And I'm trying to figure out, where is that accent from? Because it's not a Texas accent, and it's not an accent from Mississippi or even Kentucky. Like, where is that accent from that Cheap Dirty Blonde Skank has? Like, I can't put my finger on it. And, he's telling her that Jacob don't want her. And, she's like, well, why do you want me? He says, because she's his sweet thing. And I'm like, okay, Basie, whatever. Like, yeah. So, I'm like, yeah. So then Basie goes up to the cash register to pay for his alcohol. And, the man tells him how much it is, and he gives him the money. And then there's a man that's standing behind him looking really, creepy as fuck. And he puts some change down on the counter. And Basie looks up at him and, tell him God's going to bless him. But then Basie kept looking at him. And I'm like, is this one of those people that Basie's running from with his, gambling debt? I couldn't put my finger on that. Is that one of those people? But Basie was shook as fuck, because Basie got out of that store, and then the guy followed behind Basie, and Basie saw this black SUV on the other side of Rachel Rochelle's car. He hops in the car with Rachel Rochelle, and he tells her to get the fuck out of there, and that bitch got the fuck out of there. But that SUV following behind them. So I'm wondering, is this going to be the last time that we see Rachel Rochelle and Basie Skanks? Or will we see them at some point in season 4? All right, so then we have this scene where Grace is in her office and she's watching this press conference on her computer, and it's about the DA. So Aaron comes into the office. So what I got from it was that the DA that was, on Corley's case, he's been part of the Me Too movement. So, Grace is like, this is a big help to Corley's case. So then we see Grace and Aaron walking, and Aaron is telling Grace that, the lawyers read Lionel's will, and Lionel left Grace $3 million. I'm like, God damn, for a daughter you never had a relationship with or knew. But I think more so it was to spite Aaron because Aaron is gay. I think that may have been more so the reason behind doing that. And, she asked Aaron, well, what did he leave you? He says he didn't leave me anything. And then, Grace was trying to offer him some money. And he's like, I don't want his money. Like, I didn't have his trust or respect, so I don't want his money. She said, spoken like a true Christian. So then we see Grace. She is, Phil is there, and he is joined by, let's see, I can't remember what that man's name was. I have it in my notes. Let's go to my notes. Sorry, y'all. I don't mean to be doing this in the middle of the video. His name is Bob Whitmore, and he is the head of the nomination. So Bob is basically telling Grace, what they want from her over there at Triumph, not at Triumph, but in Calvary through Hope and Harmony. And they basically just want Grace for her voice to reach the masses and whatnot. And, Grace is like, we haven't even, ironed out the logistics of the, what she's going to do with her and Phil. But he stops her and to tell her about what he wants from them. So then we see Grace. She goes over to Bishop's office, and she's telling Bishop that she met with Bob and how she doesn't trust him. And, Bishop says once Connie and her crew out that, Grace will be free. She says, no, we'll be free. He says, no, after this last round, I'm not, I'm not up for a fight. So he is going to bow out. And then, she goes on to tell Bishop that she's coming to some money, $3 million, and that she wants him to take the money to help him with the IRS. And he asked her where did she get the money from, but she never said where she got the money from. And then, Bishop tells Grace that she has always been and will always be his daughter, and that he loves her. And I'm like, look at that. That's so sweet. All right, so now we are going to move over to the last part of the episode. So we are in Calvary, and Bishop is giving his last sermon. So he's telling the crowd that, this is his last sermon, and that next week Grace will take over, and they will be up under the new direction of Hope and Harmony. And, he's talking about, who was he talking about? Moses. And then, like I said, he's talking about his speech. And it says last hurrah, and then he stops, and you see him, he's kind of stumbling backwards, and Bishop just passes out. And he's talking about how God gave him a vision and about how his life would end. And his eyes just roll into the back of his head, and I'm like, oh no, like please don't let Bishop die. So then we see this scene where we have Zora and Sophia. They are on the grounds, and they're walking. And, so Zora is telling Sophia that she's going to therapy to see why she was in this fucked up ass relationship with light skinned Ike Turner DeBarge. And she's telling her what all she has to do in order to graduate early. And she's telling her about, wanting to go to a school in New York. And then Sophia says, let's make a pact, no matter what, let's always never stop talking to each other. And Zora agrees to that. So then they go into the house, and, May and Jacob are talking, and Gigi walks up and she's like, what's going on here? And, Lady May tells Grace that Jacob is moving back into the house. And then, Jacob leaves, and Lady May asks Grace, can she talk to her? She says, sure. So Lady May wants to apologize to Grace, and Grace is like, it's not needed. And she said, yes, it is. She said, your father wanted me to talk to you and to make up with you and apologize to you. And she says, I'm here for you going forward. I'm in your back. I'm like, this is nice to finally see Lady May having Grace's back. And, we see Kevin and Aaron are there with the baby, and, they're having dinner. So Charity, she asked Charity, is the baby having dinner with them? She says, no, I don't think he's ready for, a Greenleaf dinner. So he's going to stay with Marisol. And, Aaron asked them, Grace and Aaron, well, Kevin asked Grace and Aaron, are they ready to go public with being half brother and half sister? Grace says, no, this is all about Bishop. So then, in there, getting ready at the table, we have Bossy ass Carissa telling, Zora what she wants from her when it comes to emailing and stuff. And they bring some candles out, and she's been bossy with that. And May tells her to stop, like, please stop, Carissa. And then we see Bishop. Bishop, he did survive. He did not die. He was in a hospital for 2 weeks, and he's fine now. He's in retirement. And then we had them at the table, and Lady May asked Grace to give the to bless the food, and Grace does bless the food. So that was it for Greenleaf. Like I said earlier in the video, I have thoroughly enjoyed reviewing this show. I've enjoyed watching this show. I am so thankful to Roxanne, Ashley, and Bondi for reviewing the show, so that I can actually say to myself, hey, let me go watch the show, see what it's about, and then for me to get into reviewing it. And me, so it's been a blast reviewing this show. And like I said, I will be back for season 4. And like the video, leave your comments, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys later. And I hope that you guys have a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. Eat a lot, don't get eat a lot, get full, have fun, and I will see you guys again. I'm gonna catch up on the Real Housewives of Dallas. I know not a lot of people watch that video, but I'm catch up on it, review it, put it up. But I want to officially see officially see you guys again. If I don't do the Real Housewives of Dallas, I won't see you guys again until Sunday for Real Housewives of Atlanta, because this Saturday, Married to Medicine is preempted. So like I said, happy Thanksgiving to you all. See you guys later.